Welcome to the Rig on Wheels show featuring MVT, the show built for professional truck drivers, bringing you the latest insights, hot jobs, and tips to keep you moving forward. Powered by Mesilla Valley Transportation, the leaders in safety, fuel efficiency, and innovation, with over 1,600 trucks on the road. Let's hit the road together. This is the Rig on Wheels show featuring MVT.
Hey everybody, hey, happy Tuesday, cold Tuesday here in Houston. I am Kameel Gaines. I am the owner and host of the Rig on Wheels show, and this is the #1 truck driver recruitment show, proudly featuring MVT. And as always, we are joined by Pierson. Robert Pierson is what his mama named him, but we call him Pierson. He is the vice president of the recruitment at Mesilla Valley Transportation. And each week we bring you the latest of industry news, hot jobs, tips for drivers, recruiters. And guess what? Today's hot topics is going to be about President Trump's executive orders, y'all. The Arctic class of 2025. So let's definitely let it roll. How are you doing on Tuesday?
I'm doing well. Ohio State won the national championship last night, which disgusts me, i.e. why I have the Michigan hat on today to counter that. Disappointed in Notre Dame. Nobody from Ohio should be proud of what took place last night.
Yeah, everything just seems bad.
Miserable. Sky's falling. Everything's bad.
Yeah, I've been seeing ever since yesterday. I picked up my grandkids. It started sleeting, and I immediately said the world is ending. I need my relocation money. I did not move from Chicago almost 11 years ago to deal with sleet. Like, this is inhumane. I'm crashing out. That's what the young kids call it when you about to go postal, crashing out. Your kids say that yet?
Yeah, they do, but not everything's bad. I will say this. I'm excited. It's somewhat influenced by the bad weather around the country. This morning we had about 80 trucks in Houston that were shut down due to weather at any single time. That is bad. What it's forcing, though, is the spot market starting to get hot and heating up because you're starting to get pent-up demand because of the weather. So once you're able to effectively and safely move, we're starting to see the spot market increase. So that has me excited. I think available loads were up 78% last week. Available trucks up 50%. Starting to see things flow where dry van was up 2.5 cents to $2.22. Flatbed up 2 cents to $2.23. Reefer up 2.5 cents to $2.68. So that's exciting. It's, again, artificially being created because of the weather patterns. It is cold. I can tell you when I got into the office here in El Paso this morning, it was 19 degrees. How are you faring over there in Houston?
Crashing out. I am depressed. I am upset. I did get me some coffee this morning, so that was good. But I was the only one getting coffee this morning. I think everybody is off taking a snow day. Everybody, kids are off. I just don't know what to say. And it's really cold. It's Chicago cold now. Granted, Chicago is really, really having a cold time. Look at Meryl talking about some go Georgia maybe next year. Shucky ducky. So maybe, not Georgia. Maybe I know that Chicago is really having a tough time with cold weather, but it's really cold in Houston. Like, the wind chill is not something we should even be saying in Houston. But like, it's in the 20s. We are dripping our faucets and leaving our cabinet doors open.
Heck, the airport's closed. I was supposed to be with you in Houston this morning.
Yeah.
And the airport's closed for the day. That ain't good.
I think for tomorrow. So I want to say that we probably will be closed throughout the week. Saturday, I think it's going to be in the 60s. It's going to be in the 60s. It's just, we're going to be closed the entire week. Houston, and this is what, the fourth largest metropolitan city in the United States?
Crap. It's top 10. I know that.
So yeah, while you Googling that, like, this is crazy that we are having to do this. Like, this is really, really bad. And it's not just because, you know, I can't go to my favorite Starbucks, but it's other things too.
I figured. So Houston is number 5 behind my home city of DFW.
Oh, okay. So
DFW has about 600,000 more people.
No, I'm not a DFW fan at all. Not at all. I like to visit, though. I have quite a few friends up there in DFW. But yeah, no, it's really not my thing. But speaking of the Arctic, there are so many areas in the United States. Like, it's really a large portion of the United States that is dealing with these frigid temperatures, unusual snowfalls, even though the news told me today on my phone, that this it's the third since they have been measuring about weather and stuff like that. The third time that Houston has had measurable snowstorms. The first was like in 1860 something. But anyway, the current areas that are affected when it comes to Arctic blasts are the Gulf Coast. So a lot of the states that MVT deals with, so cities like Houston, New Orleans, are definitely, we got schools closed, blizzard warnings, flight cancellations, i.e. both our airports are closed. So along the Texas and Louisiana border, so I-10 basically. So
yeah, I'll say this. As we do this podcast, it is currently 28 degrees in New Orleans. Biloxi, Mississippi, sitting at 25 degrees. Pensacola at 26. Tallahassee at 31. These are places that traditionally aren't built. Like, houses are not built for this.
I know. I'm literally sitting in my house and it's cold. Like, it is cold. And I have to work from home today. Thank goodness I do have the ability to do that. So you have other southern states like the Panhandle of Florida is preparing for snow. They do have, snow plows for this. We don't have that. New York City, that is used to cold, but they are going to be facing bitter cold temperatures, below freezing, all of that crazy stuff, wind chills, and all of that. What I want to know is what's going to happen in Buffalo. I remember being a little girl all the way until now, how Buffalo, New York just gets all the snow in the world. New York Post was been talking about that. Now the Midwest states has been hitting wind chills below 45 degrees. My best friend, which also is the producer of this podcast, he's been talking about the extreme wind chills in Chicago, but the Sunday Times in Chicago has been talking about negative 45 wind chills.
So oh, it is. It is. Now, I do want to give an upside to all this. For those of us that live in the southern U.S., we know that if you live in the southern U.S., we get some unique wildlife in terms of bugs, insects, creepy crawlies. So there is a plus to all this. And I've been trying to tell myself this over and over again. This is what kills off those bugs. So just remember the torture that you're going through this week come summertime. If you notice, Mosquito populations are lower. You have less things trying to be a visitor in your house. There is an upside to this come the summertime. So as you're in your house, shivering and shaking and looking outside, longing for warm weather, there is a positive that comes from this, and we'll experience it in the summertime.
I feel like the bugs are coming in. They're cold too.
Oh, right now, yeah, they want inside. But come summertime, when you're on your porch and you're in June and you're not sitting there swatting at yourself.
Yeah, that's true. Because the mosquitoes are so big in Houston, they're as big as bats.
They are. So just keep in mind for a moment that this does serve the benefit that when we get into the summertime, Lord knows the southern U.S. has enough wildlife that wants to sleep with you at night, that this is one of the blessings of this is it kills a lot of that off.
Yeah. James, we're going to get to your statement and question in a few minutes because that's going to be in a few seconds. So don't worry about it. But some other stuff that I wanted to say that we already talked about the flights and stuff in Houston, but there have been over 2,000 flights canceled. All of that. I'm wondering, you know how they have to pay if your flights and things like that are canceled, the airlines. Is that a thing now too? Because this is an act of God.
Yeah, so this is not elected on your end. Generally speaking, worst case scenario, you get a trip credit. Outside of that, generally a refund, depending if you've rebooked or not. Mm-hmm. I can tell you I dealt with that a couple of weeks ago trying to get to you. With that said, a lot more protections in the way of it. You're not out, especially if it's weather related. They have to accommodate you within 24 hours. Sometimes they can't. As an example, Houston's airport's projected to be closed at least 36 hours. So just keep that in mind as you're traveling. We are very fortunate. We have orientation Tuesday and Wednesday in El Paso, Thursday, Friday in El Paso, and Laredo in Houston. Everybody seemed to travel on Monday before it got really bad.
Yeah.
So pure dumb luck. I'd like to take credit and say all our drivers got in without a problem. We timed it because if it was 24 hours later, that would not be the case. But it does remind us from a safety standpoint. Be careful if you can't operate, if you cannot effectively stay safe on the road. Communicate with your carrier. I cannot move. As I said, I'm not happy that we had 80 trucks in Houston not moving, but I'd rather have 80 trucks not moving and communicate out to customers, hey, this is what's going on, than have people be a cowboy on the highway and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. And we're going to, in another segment, talk about the impact on trucking and driver safety when it comes to these Arctic blasts, because I think this deserves a little bit more than just the news segment. Because this impacts us a lot more than just the news part of it and all of that good stuff. To be honest with you, I was joking with Meryl's wife that I call my president actually. But I was joking with her saying, just throw the whole Bible Belt away. We're just going through too much stuff. It's just way too much stuff down here that we're going through. It's too much. Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, all of these states have declared state of emergency. It's bad. It's really bad. But now, Terrell, go ahead and, if you will, put James's comment up there for us. So James is a long-time listener, first-time caller. Question for Pierson: with this new election and people settling in office, should we expect a drastic change?
Nope.
What do you mean that, Pierson?
So on the day-to-day life standpoint, no, not really. Not in particular. The world's still going to be as crazy as it was 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago. On a day-to-day basis, I'm not projecting anything. Long term, I'm optimistic about regulations being pulled back. That gets me somewhat excited. But with that said, we'll have to see between the negotiations to Canada, Mexico, and China how that plays out. One of the things to keep in mind with tariffs is China is a one-stop shop. The merchandise comes from China, comes to the U.S. It's a one-stop shop, so that 25% tariff is bad for China, theoretically bad for us, but it's a one and done. I don't see Canada and I don't see Mexico doing that, because if you look at Canada in particular, especially the automotive industry, a part might start in Canada, come here, get refined, go back to Canada, get put into its final product, come back here. It goes in the supply chain back and forth repeatedly. Theoretically, a tariff would hit 25%, 25%, 25% back and forth. How you would execute and actually do that does not work. As I've said since probably about 3 months ago, it's a negotiating tactic. Our economy is not set up that way. You would have catalytic converters that would literally end up being 400% more expensive within a week. That's not practical. It is a negotiating tactic at this point. I don't see that changing drastically. What I do say is a year from now, 2 years from now, you will see a much different environment. I'm optimistic from an economic standpoint that we'll be just fine. From a social standpoint, we'll see some back and forth. But I'm optimistic, and I think 2 years from now, that's where you'll see drastic changes from today. You'll most likely see the productivity out of Mexico double over the next 2 to 4 years. You'll see the productivity out of China coming to the U.S. and our trade deficit being really meaningless as that gets cut in half. So 2 to 4 years from now is where you'll see change. Over the next 12 months, do not let MSNBC or Fox News or CNN scare you. The sky is not falling. I'm optimistic about 2025. I think the first 6 months slowly get better. Second half of 2025, I think freight-wise is going to be exciting. From a driver compensation standpoint, I think we start seeing a lot of that arms race starting again. Sign-on bonuses, pay increases. We're watching it closely on our end because we need to be competitive, both with our current drivers as well as future drivers.
Absolutely.
The back half of the year, from a driver standpoint, you will start to see traction in terms of compensation.
So I have twofold with that. Now, in trucking, I think this administration, or whatever you want to call it, is going to do well. The lack of regulation or the drop of regulation is going to be wonderful. I think we're going to be carrying bags to the bank. I think everything is going to be great. I think as time goes on, things are going to be great. I think they're going to be pro-trucking. Another thing that Trump did say is drill, baby, drill. So I like to hear all of that, i.e. I'm in this industry. But then we talk about his executive order. So socially, I think the world is ending. The sky is falling and life has stopped. So like the immigration, border security, the executive orders that he's done, I think his pen has not run out. They keep putting more ink in it for these executive orders. So he's done a lot, but it's 9 of them that stick out. So the immigration, border security, he does, like you said, a trade tariff. Now he said a 25% tariff, Canada and Mexico, but he said it's coming in February. So the minute I heard that, I heard Pierson say, Kameel, that's just a negotiation. Stop being crazy. Turn off Bloomberg. Because the reason why I know you're right is because knowing Trump, because I feel like I know him personally, right? Because I read books, is that if it's something he wanted to do, he would have done it yesterday, right? Before him and Melania went dancing. right? So I know that much about him because I read his books. The energy policy, as far as lifting restrictions, like I said about drill, baby drill, the national security, enhancing cybersecurity and all of that, data protection. I think that that is good. Workforce education, you know, I am totally against his thought when it comes to cutting diversity, equity, and inclusion. Um, Government efficiency with Elon Musk, and yeah, but I think I want to see how this plays out between him and Elon, because Elon is this tech genius. He is the entrepreneur of the entrepreneurs, right? When it comes to this tech stuff and automation. But then you have Trump that is against all of that. So how do you think that that's going to play out? Because automation is really coming into our industry as far as trucking. Now, it's been in supply chain for a while. How do you think? That's what I want to know. And look, I'm going to throw this into James too. James wants to know too. What do you think about that? How do you think that that's going to play out?
I'm excited about it. Okay. As we've talked about numerous times, I think the truck driver is viewed a lot more like a pilot 10 years from now. Look, there's going to be a time when the truck driver is not somebody that sits there holding a steering wheel. Yeah. They sit there like that, really looking at this. The value proposition of a professional truck driver on the road is up here. It's intelligence, it's adaptability, it's safety consciousness. That is what makes a truck driver valuable. I don't see anything that makes that change. I think automation is a great thing. I think there's a lot less manual labor that the truck driver does. The truck driver over the last 20, 30, 40 years is less about manual physical labor, and it's intelligence. Your best truck driver is somebody that knows their equipment, understands rules, regulations, standards. That's exciting to me. Automation is something our industry should not be scared of, but rather should embrace. When people think about, 100 years ago, you had chimney sweeps going down and cleaning chimneys. They were a manual laborer. There's nothing intelligent about cleaning out a chimney.
No.
What a truck driver does, operating 80,000 pounds down the road, dealing with customers, invoice orders, bill of lading, everything else. The truck driver is actually a much more white collar position than I think people realize that have never done the job.
Absolutely.
That truck driver is an intelligent individual that has to understand multiple dynamics at any given time. If you're a truck driver and you've been through the Smith system to do predictive analytics and defensive driving, that's about intelligence. It's not brute force. It, quite frankly, is understanding finesse, predicting what's going to happen in the future. So I'm excited as we automate more of the system. I think it doesn't take away jobs. If anything, from an IT standpoint, it adds jobs. I'm not worried about that in the slightest.
How do you, because I agree with you, and I'm all for automation. I'm all for innovation. I'm all for the way Elon thinks when it comes to that, not his hand gestures yesterday. But I'm all I call Elon my cousin. I said, my cousin, he just acts up sometimes. But like, I'm all for the way he thinks. I like how he just pushes the button, and I really like that. But how is that going to work with Trump?
I think he'll push for it because it's good for business. Look, I think we've experienced over the last 4 years, and we can get into social issues all we want. The Biden administration was extremely disorganized. And I'll give you an example.
Yes, I agree with you.
About 4 to 6 weeks ago, they signed an executive order that stopped LNG, natural gas, going over to Europe. Literally said, let's stop this. Europe is depending on us for their fuel and natural gas supply because they are pulling out of Russia's reliance on their fuel. So they come through us on it. In the war in Ukraine, we support Ukraine. It would appear that we are giving weapons to Ukraine. We support Ukraine. But we signed an executive order that stops feeding Europe, which basically encourages Europe to go against sanctions and go to Russia for their fuel. Those four things together do not make any sense. Like you cannot, they are not mutually exclusive. One leads to another. So it seemed like the left hand and the right hand had no clue what they were doing. I think the positive side as we get into the next 4 years, you and I may agree or disagree on a long litany of things that take place over the next 4 years. I'm positive of it. But if the left hand and the right hand know what they're doing, you gain efficiencies. And that's going to be the big part of this. And this is not an endorsement of Trump. I didn't support Kamala. I didn't support Trump. But if our government can have some organization that this group here knows what this group is doing and they are all moving to the same pathway, that's exciting. I think that impacts trucking from an economic standpoint and a regulatory standpoint. And just overall, when you and I leave the trucking industry and put our family and household hats on, I think that's going to make life easier.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows that I didn't support Trump socially. However, what I will say is when it comes to Elon, Trump is going to do it because it makes business sense. Not because he likes it, but because it makes business sense. And I do agree with that. So that is, just what I, have to say.
I will say this. This is the part I'm concerned about as an independent voter. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't belong to either party. I'm a big believer that each party is supposed to hold each other accountable. I think when Republicans have control of the House or the Senate or the executive branch, I like having a strong Democratic Party because they hold them accountable.
Yeah.
And vice versa when it's the other way. So my question, and I'll ask you this, Kameel, as we go into 2026 and 2028, I think we're in a weird spot. Who would you say are the leaders of the Democratic Party at this moment?
None.
And
they have none, and that was the problem before. And I say that all the time, and I will put that on the record that the Democrats are weak.
So the problem is I'm a big believer. Part of what hurts California is there's nothing to push back. The crazies of the Democratic Party run the state because there is no pushback. They're able to run. And it applies to Republican states. Having a minority voice that can go, guys, I don't think you're thinking about blank is a positive. Be it at your workplace, be it in politics, hell, even at your house. So the thing that I'm concerned about right now is I want Trump to be successful. As an American, though I didn't vote for him. If he's successful, I win. It's a benefit to me.
Right.
I don't see the other side of the aisle. We got Democrats still screaming about January 6th. And do I think January 6th was a bad thing? Okay, sure. But that don't pay my bills next week. I got to pay bills next week.
Right.
So the challenge is
this week.
Absolutely. And so the challenge is I would like the Democrats to get off their ass and have a leader, have somebody to move them forward. I don't see that. And that's the part as a country we should be concerned about.
Just one leader. Can we have one leader? I'm not even asking for two. One. We wouldn't be in a position to have this man if we had just one leader. That's just my personal opinion. Not Rig on Wheels or anybody else. Like that's my personal opinion. And then also they need to know how to be marketable and be more efficient, be organized. If we disdain the man that now is the president, not my president, but the president of the United States, then you have to be organized. The man is organized.
Yeah, here's the thing. And there's a lot of people that voted for Trump. I know a lot of them. They didn't vote for him because they like him. They didn't. They voted for more of what he represents, and quite frankly, they're not finding the answer that they want elsewhere. And so the challenge is here is as a country. We were promised about 4 years ago that the adults were going to take over. That didn't happen. And so I'm concerned as a country. I'm not saying who's right or wrong. I'm a grown adult. I don't know the answer. What I'm saying, though, is generally you want to look, and I don't see Trump having a lot of pushback over the next 4 years. And even if you agree with him 100% of the time, that's not good. I will point out in the late 90s, where we had one of our most explosive economic growth periods in our history, Newt Gingrich pushed on Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
Newt Gingrich, trust me, Bill Clinton hated him some Newt Gingrich.
Yeah.
But you had a Republican Congress that forced Clinton to move towards the middle, consolidate power, reconcile with enemies, and push things through. That was a good thing. The late 90s was a very positive thing because you had a minority party that forced the majority to come back to the middle.
Yeah, that was.
I don't see that currently.
Yeah,
I don't see that currently.
We don't, and it's just kind of weak nowadays. It just really, it really is, and it's very disappointing. And that is the reason why, whether you like or don't like Trump, that is the reason why he's able to be in, because he's strong. He's strong in maybe immoral stuff, depending on what you feel, but he's strong. It is what it is, and
I will say
how to market.
It's not a negative thing. I was talking to my wife a couple weeks ago, and we were talking that over the last 12 months with Biden, it felt like there was elder abuse, like that he didn't know where he was, and that you're abusing an elderly dude. That's not how you want to describe a leader. No, that's not positive.
Even though he's done some stuff, they don't know how to market it. They don't know how to say what it is that he's done and all of that. And I think that's wrong. I'm upset about that.
I will say this, and the saying came back in the 70s and the 80s, and they always would say, it's the economy, stupid. The Democrats over the last 4 years, from an infrastructure standpoint, have done a lot of positive things. The one common thing, I don't care if you're pro-choice or pro-life, or most people are somewhere in the middle. Right. I don't care if you're Catholic or Muslim or agnostic. I don't care if you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic. The one common denominator between all of us, we're trying to provide for our family.
Exactly.
Our kids, our grandkids, etc. And that's the thing that won Trump the election, is the Democrats can point and say they have done a great job on infrastructure over the last 4 years. And I'm in trucking. Infrastructure matters. Yeah. But when you're trying to get votes, the one thing that we all relate to above any other topic is, can I provide for myself and my loved ones?
Yeah, that's all we care about.
That's the question. That's why Trump's in office.
That's it.
Anybody who ever runs for office at a national level, you have to clearly define, how are you going to support you and your loved ones going forward? That didn't take place. I'm hoping, I'm not saying 4 years from now that I'm going to vote for a Democrat presidential nominee. I don't know. I could. I've done it before. But I really hope that party gets in order and gets their act together and has a clearly defined platform. I don't care about who uses what restroom. I don't care about athletes. I don't care that, we built a bridge in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. I literally don't. At the end of the day, I got 5 boys, and me providing for my retirement and my 5 boys moving forward is my number. If you can answer those questions, you literally can run as an independent. I'll vote for you. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I have 2 nietos now. I have 2 grandkids. I need to know what is going to happen in their future. And I need to have it spelled out, period. Those are the things that are important to me.
Yep. All that matters.
Period. That's what matters. And
that's why I don't know how many times I tell people.
Yeah,
every election.
Right.
Keep it simple, stupid. It's the economy.
That's it. Yeah, I have kids. I've grown kids, but these are the things that are important to me: business, healthcare, female stuff, and my grandkids.
By the way, it's a great question, and anybody wants to call in or send a comment. First, long-time listener, first-time caller, i.e., Paul Harvey, or some of those call-in shows. I love the opening line to that. That's fantastic. Right.
Yeah, James, look at what you caused, James. Everything. You just caused everything, just a whole muck of stuff. But no, I think this is great. And Trump does have an infrastructure investment thing, but it is something for the future that he's opening up. And he does again have more, of course, executive orders, but those were just a few that I felt I wanted to throw out there for us. What I want to do is go to a very quick commercial, Terrell, come back, talk about hot jobs. So if you can go to a quick commercial, let's do that, Terrell.
Hello, everybody. I'm D'Anthony Davis. I'm a truck driver from Cleveland, Texas. I've been driving for 3.5 years now. I recently saw a podcast with Rig on Wheels on YouTube. I gave them a call. They was fast. They was efficient. They helped me out. I didn't really want to be over the road, so they got me a good reasonable job. And hey, you should give them a call.
Love that commercial. D'Anthony Davis is a good dude. D'Anthony Davis. Big fan of his.
Look, that was real quick. I didn't even get a chance to pour more water in my cup. Look at you. And I can't wait to talk to Charles. So let's get to it. Terrell, let's throw up the hot jobs up there.
Awesome. Division 10. Absolutely. Terrell, at the end of this, be sure to post that phone number because I want to make sure how people can reach us. Division 10, it's our OTR division. This is the cool part of this division is it's kind of our flex fleet. We send you to where freight is most busy. We use this division basically, we have spikes and valleys from one division to the next. So the nice thing with this division, while you ultimately decide what division's your final home, this division sends you to where freight is busiest. Average $1,200 to $1,500 a week, out 14 days for a 34 to 48-hour reset. Currently looking for people out of Phoenix, Salt Lake City, Albuquerque, El Paso, DFW, Houston, San Antonio, Laredo, Little Rock, Arkansas, Nashville, Louisville, Jacksonville. A lot of opportunities here. Division 10. One of our exciting opportunities. If you live in any of those markets, contact a recruiter today and let's have that discussion. Let's go to Division 100. If you live out of El Paso, averaging $1,400 to $1,600 a week with weekly home time, we go from El Paso up to the southern Great Lakes states. Generally start out the week with an average of a 1,400-mile length of haul. Additionally, if you have a passport, though, it gives you the opportunity to go up to Toronto, Canada, the GTA, Greater Toronto area, or Montreal. This job's going to average $1,400 to $1,600 a week, but those runs up to Canada. Add an extra $100 per driver, be it a solo or a team. Looking for solos and teams on this. Again, your solo driver with weekly home times averaging $1,400 to $1,600 a week. Your team is averaging anywhere between $3,800 to $4,500 a week. Division 100 out of El Paso. Let's look at Division 329, Terrell, if you could. My favorite division, Texas Regionals. Don't like to go too far from home. This is one of those that you'll never be more than an hour away from the house. If you have 6 months of experience, you're going to average about $1,200 a week. If you have 2 or more years of experience, you're going to average about $1,800 a week on this opportunity. We are actively hiring out of Houston, DFW, San Antonio, Laredo. People in this division will do orientation in Laredo for a day and a half. We do orientation in Laredo every Tuesday and Wednesday, or Thursday and Friday. Again, great miles, a lot of drop and hook. We're talking about 80% drop and hook back and forth opportunities. We also get a lot of unique divisional openings that might be San Antonio to DFW and back again, or Houston to DFW and back again. We pull those individuals for those home daily opportunities out of this division. With that said, Division 329 offers weekly home time, steady pay, a lot of drop and hook. We work with customers like IKEA, the Container Store, Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, and a whole bunch of others to keep us busy with that 80% drop and hook. Favorite division, call your recruiters on that. And last but not least, the stress-free division, Division 430. If you live out of Jacksonville, this is a division that if you live in Jacksonville, every recruiter under the sun is trying to send you up I-95 to the northeast or 75 going up to Atlanta. This division's all I-10. Outside of this week, traditionally one of the warmer spots in the country, averaging about $1,100 to $1,300 a week. A lot of drop and hook in Houston and Laredo. 60% of the freight's going to be related to Lowe's or any of the freight going around Lowe's specifically. So an exciting opportunity out of Jacksonville. Call on 430. What I will tell everybody is if you saw a market that works for you or you didn't, we hire out of Portland, Oregon, Phoenix, Arizona, Albuquerque, El Paso, Denver, El Paso, Salt Lake City, DFW, Houston, Laredo, San Antonio, Little Rock, Memphis, Nashville, Louisville, Jacksonville. We have a lot of opportunities available. And if you don't live in one of those areas, Rig on Wheels work with 40 other trucking companies that you can call in, tell about your background, what you're interested in, what your wants, your needs are, and they will find a unique opportunity for you. So if you are actively in the job market or think you're going to be in the job market, maybe your spouse and your husband or wife is getting ready to be in the job market, call 281-968-3100. That's 281-968-3100, or go to rigonwheels.com. And Nimmer and Drusella, and who else do you have over there?
Lydia, Diana, Patrice, Raven.
Yeah.
Stephanie, yeah. Raven is your favorite. Stephanie, Joy. They'll all be able to help you.
Yep. So a whole team over there, real experienced recruiters. They're going to want to know what matters to you. What are your wants? What are your needs? Are there any other decision makers in the process? What are their concerns? And the nice thing here is when you deal with an MVT recruiter direct, my recruiter is going to be somewhat specific. They're trying to sell you on MVT, in all fairness. That's their job. The nice thing is Rig on Wheels acts as your agent. So I always tell people, envision yourself, close your eyes. You're a stud football player, and you have an agent. So instead of you having to take 8-9 calls a week, you have an agent that's going to do that for you. And they're going to go, hey, what's important to you? Great. Home time, running area. I have these 3 opportunities that fit that bucket that you're looking for. So skip the job board, skip all the advertising, stop getting on Google, make one phone call to 281-968-3100, end the stress, and let's make a career choice for you rather than just your next job.
Absolutely. Or you can go directly to www.rigonwheels.com click on the driver application tab and you will be able to fill out an application, and we'll get back to you within 24 hours, depending on when you fill it out. Sometimes you'll get a call back that same day, but we'll definitely give you a call back. Absolutely. So thanks for everything. And what we'll definitely do is we want to go to the next segment, but before we do that, can you do me a favor, Terrell, and put up that screen? We are going to be on Friday celebrating our 15th year celebration. Okay, we turned 15 years old. So Larry Cochran is a truck driver. He is a truck driver influencer. Sorry. And he is going to speak on Friday with us. And it is at 12 o'clock. We're only going to be on there an hour. So it is very fast. We're going to be on there live on YouTube and on TikTok. So definitely join us. In fact, go on either one of those platforms now, whether it is YouTube or TikTok, that is your favorite. Go on either one and go ahead and register. He is an influencer. He has a bunch of followers. He is currently a driver. He's still a driver. He's an owner-operator. And he will be able to talk to you about a lot of stuff. He's actually a sponsor in the Faces of the Road calendar, as well as he is in the calendar with his quotes. So I definitely want you all to get a chance to talk to him and collaborate and all that good stuff. So go ahead and register. Go to your favorite app, whether it's YouTube platform, which is my favorite one, or whether it is TikTok, and go ahead and register. Remember, it's Friday, January 24th at noon Central Standard Time. Thanks, Terrell. So what we want to do is go ahead and go to commercial. Let's go to commercial about truck driver appreciation. I love it. I was talking to somebody about MVT's truck driver appreciation that wasn't even in trucking. Okay, they was talking about theirs in healthcare, and I went to MVT's YouTube page. It was too funny, and pulled up Royal Jones. So our next one for MVT hour is just only because I'm trying to get in with MVT's benefits, because they are so super fantastic. But if the next one is going to be February 20th, hopefully it's going to be in the Dallas area, and I can just mosey on up in the car. That would be awesome. But Terrell, if you have a commercial about that, that'd be great. Play that.
I feel very, very excited about my achievement. I'm very proud of giving to the company the legacy of the Sandoval family. I'm very proud, very excited. So you can see it on my face. So very excited.
Well, you know, it's been a big passion of ours to get fuel mileage and to be the best. And my goal was to get all the drivers wanting to do it. It'd be one thing if I have 5 drivers kind of get fuel mileage, that's great. But what's that doing for the environment? What's that doing for the company? So by creating the game where he or she with the best fuel mileage at the end of the quarter gets a car, it makes a lot of the people want to do it. So the idea is to get more and more people trying to get the, I mean, we create the best truck we can get. I make a truck that's easy rolling, less parasitic drag, very aerodynamic, and then I got to get in the head of this gentleman and the other people driving and make them want to drive it that way. Where you can drive the car easy. I always say if you treat it like it's about to break, it never will. Treat a truck like a beautiful woman, gently caress it nice and caress it gently and make it last. Makes the truck last, makes you last, and the safety. Like, and he said, patience. Patience is everything. Patience in truck driving. If you're impatient, think about every time somebody pulls in front of you, which is all the time. You get all mad, you can just run into them. You got to try not to wreck with these people. You're always driving defensively, so you ease on the brake and you make sure you don't want to just slam on the brake and then slam on the gas. That kills the brakes, kills the mileage. So when they're being patient, they're slowly taking their time and staying out of the longest line and getting in the shortest line and ease around and just make yourself go gently and go. Just take care of it, and that makes you safer. It makes the tires last, makes the brakes last, makes the motor last, and makes the fuel last, and it makes the people around us last because we're not running over them. It's safety.
Hey, my name is Roberto Sandoval. I am a driver trainer in this company. I have 24 years as a truck driver here in this company, and I win the 25,000 and also the trainer of the year, mentor of the year. I can't believe it right now, but I do the best always.
What do you do in order to get the best fuel mileage?
I always do, first of all, be positive. Secondly, set my objectives are. And third, just do it. No matter what happens, because sometimes you cannot get a good MPGs because there is a traffic, a lot of wind, or heavy loads. But I wait for tomorrow. And don't worry, be positive no matter what happens. Just avoid be anger or I can do it. No, I can do it. I'm gonna do it. That's all we have to do. Don't give up. Never give up.
I'm so proud of Roberto and all the things he's done, and it's not just his family. I forget how many people he's trained over the years, but we've had a lot of car winners and a lot of trainers that are still training here that won a car because they learned from him. They went on, they started here, they saw how he did it, they listened, they watched, and then they go win a car on their own, and then they train somebody who then wins. It just keeps getting passed down. We just keep creating better and better drivers, and a lot of it started at the top, and the top is Roberto Sandoval.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera.
Thank you.
Always is a pleasure to see you in this season.
It's the holiday season. What would the holiday do without Sandoval?
I just thought about this at the end of that commercial. As many times as we've seen it, Roberto was saying, I like seeing you in this season. He meant when he receives that money. That's what he meant.
Yeah. So here's the thing I will say on that ad. Bumper's a driver, not Bumper, Royal's a driver. He speaks like a driver. He's a former driver himself. So he speaks like it. So as he's describing, when you're with a beautiful woman, may not be PC or politically correct, but what it is I would describe that way when you're in your 20s and you're with a beautiful woman for the first time and you're excited, you're ready to make the action go. It's not till you're later on in life that you're like, the person I'm with needs to know I appreciate that they're with me. That's why you take them to a state. Same thing with a truck. It's not a one deal type of shot. It's not one load. You're going to get a heavy load. You're going to go against the wind. Sometimes it's not going to go just like you planned. Your professional on the road is in a marathon rather than a sprint. They take their time. They're detail oriented. They're safety conscious.
Yeah.
It's not sexy, but part of what makes Roberto Sandoval successful is he is on a long-term strategy rather than a one-trip strategy. And it feels like I'm giving a metaphor for life, but I'll say, just as a truck driver, we think so much about next week's paycheck, the next load, the next day. You need to have a 5 to 10 year plan in place.
Yeah.
That 5 to 10 year plan in place makes a world of difference in your career. I wish somebody would have told me that when I was in my 20s. It would have helped me immensely. But you need to have a long-term strategy in place. So from Royal's example of dating, are you thinking about your next date? Or are you thinking about where do you want to be in 20 years? Those two mindsets are very different.
Very different.
They
when
are.
you said that, I was thinking, and you know what? Sandoval's dad told him at 25 about long-term 10-year, 20-year, and all of our parents told us this. I know my mother did, but we all didn't think about it.
Yep.
Sandoval did. Roberto Sandoval did. Little Sandoval, no relation. Awesome. I just love him. I love his he's just so green. I love that. So I remember you told us he has been with MVT less than a year. Yeah, awesome.
We're fortunate though. I will say this, and I will brag about our company routinely. We have a really good fleet of drivers.
Mm-hmm.
We have folks that came from Africa and South America through our Visa Solution program as immigrants. A couple of them have won the car in a quarter. Mm-hmm. We have people that have been with us 20 years. We have over 400 drivers, coming up on 400 drivers that have 1 million miles with us. Mm-hmm. No tickets, no accidents. I would stack our fleet up against any other fleet in the industry. I say it without reservation or hesitation. We are really fortunate. And so the thing I tell a new driver that's joining MVT, you're joining an elite fleet. You're joining a group of people that are professionals on the road. I've worked at other trucking companies and I've not always been able to say that. That is a really big thing. I don't care what occupation you do. You want to be proud of where you work, and you want the people around you to carry themselves in a certain way. If you want to work with a team that is professionals, that take what they do really seriously, mm-hmm. This is the place that you come to. If you're looking for a big paycheck next week, there's 1,000 companies that will give you that big paycheck next week. Good for you. But it's a long-term mindset.
Go get them.
Look, I'll point this out, Kameel. You started Rig on Wheels 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. I promise you, 15 years ago, you could have taken some shortcuts to make a paycheck real quick.
Yeah.
And I bet you had some opportunities that presented themselves mm-hmm. that you looked at and you said, payday. But you made the mindset. You made the mindset that I'm not going to go down this path. I'm going to go down this path.
Yeah.
And there's probably been 15 years of that where you've had to make those calls of, this is not a short-term deal. This is a long-term deal.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you back in 2010 with a guy named Mitch when we started CDLlife.com, had the same things. I had some short-term things that would have paid me a lot of money. And with a wife and a couple of kids at that point, they were awfully attractive.
Yeah.
But you have to think long term. Where do I want to be 5, 10, 15 years down the road?
Yeah.
And that's a different mindset. And it doesn't pay off right away. It pays off 15, 20 years later.
I agree with you 100%. And it's about culture. Who do you want to be when you're out of the room? And what is it? The 3 words that people or adjectives that people use to describe you. What are they?
Are you asking me or are you saying?
No, but not asking. No,
oh, thank God. Because I didn't expect that quiz right now.
Yeah. Not really. But I'm just saying you want it to be positive. So for me, I think I want to respect my mother's name. And I want to do things the right way. All money is not good money, not illegal or immoral, but it's about what do you want to leave behind? And also, literally, what do you want to leave behind when you leave the room? When you leave the room, what are people going to say? Oh, she just does things shortcut. She lazy. She good for nothing. She'll do something for $1. No. What is it that you want them to say?
Yep.
And work towards that. Be that. And if you're not that yet, literally continue to work towards it.
Now, I will say this: we feature Roberto Sandoval in a lot of our stuff, and he is the consummate professional. Really humble dude. And the thing I think he's won the yearly $25,000 bonus 5 different times. He could be a jerk. Honestly, he could be as cocky and as arrogant as he wanted to be, and we'd be fine with it. He's a nice guy. Like, he's a humble guy. He's trained 12 different people, if not more, already in the company. I will find it is unbelievably satisfying when you find good people that end up being successful. We think of this world as being very cutthroat, very aggressive. I got to get mine type of thing. It is nice when you know people that are good people that do well. I appreciate that fact.
You know how they always say the good guy finished last or whatever. Terrell, isn't that what they say? The good guy finished last. We always talk about that. Terrell, you gonna leave me hanging?
Oh, you can jump in here, Terrell. Come on, let's go.
Terrell, at any point you can say. This is why I don't like my best friend. But it doesn't. It's a new day now, and it's not like that. You know, you want to lead with integrity, and that's important. You know, you want to respect your parents' name.
Legacy matters.
Yeah, my mom's name. I mean, I have my father's name, but my mom is the original. I do want to say I do have my father's name. So let's go ahead. I am so glad you all stayed with us. I want you all to be safe because, as we said in the beginning, this Arctic blast is for almost all of the United States.
I keep, as we've done this podcast, I keep looking at the weather radar and temperature radar around the country. Whole lot of blue. And that's not good.
Yeah. My phone keeps dinging, and I'm like, this is crazy.
I have friends in Phoenix bragging about 60 degrees. You're never supposed to be able to brag about 60 degrees.
Yeah. Because they're normally warmer about this time, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's low. I can tell you the West Coast doesn't look bad. But if you look at the weather radar across the country, a lot of blue. You got one pocket around Ogallala, Nebraska, that's 42 degrees that somehow miraculously is not in the deep freeze. You should never let Ogallala, Nebraska be the bragging spot of the country.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that city.
They would tell you they have a Buffalo Bills outfitters and trading post. Outside of that, there's people that live there that don't brag about living in Ogallala, Nebraska.
It sounds like a city that cooks really good food.
I participated in a 96-ounce steak eating contest, so that is correct.
Yeah. The city just sounds wonderful.
I won. My fit picture is on the wall. So if you ever go to a Bozeman truck stop that's near there, you'll find my picture on the wall, nauseous and sick, going like this after eating a 96-ounce steak.
That's funny. I couldn't even think about it. No.
I don't put it on my LinkedIn or my resume, but it's on. But I can brag about it.
I'm not even a steak person. My favorite steak is Colombian steak. So I'm not even a steak person. So if I never have another steak again, it's fine. If it is, it's Colombian steak.
I'll say this. I would be interested via this podcast, this show, anybody that can tell us on the road the best place to eat a steak.
Oh,
and,
God.
I will say this. I take a lot of food advice from truck drivers. They get to see a lot of places, go a lot of places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody that has a suggestion on where we can eat a good steak, if somebody says, I'm a truck driver, you have my undivided attention.
Yeah, absolutely. My friends do tell me about a lot of food places, and I'm like, no, I'm trying to be on a journey. That's what I
We're
say.
sitting at 3:15 Mountain Time, 4:15 Central Time here. I was 10 minutes late, so let me blame me first. Anything else you want to cover today, Kameel?
No, I don't. No, I don't. But I do want everybody to be safe, and we'll see you next week at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we're signing off, everybody.